So, it has been many years since the last time I made the video about my fully upgraded Mac. At the time, I didn't know the video would make such an audience. It has been my most watched video ever since. I want to thank you guys for that. But one thing that always bothers me is the quality of the video. It is, to be honest, not the best. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to make a follow-up video. The other one being to provide a newer place for us old MacBook Pro owners to talk about upgrades. And also I would like to throw in some of my issues in upgrading the parts, what would make the most difference, what are the risks, and so on. Everything here is my own experience, and I hope by sharing this, I can help you learn a thing or two. Oh, and a quick note, if you're not subscribed yet, please click the red button down there. It helps me a lot. I usually upload tech videos like this a couple times a month. I really hope you could enjoy. So, without further ado, I don't want to take more of your time. Bring the intro. Selamat pagi! Welcome back guys, Kenneth here. Today I'm with my trusty MacBook Pro that has been with me since 2011. That's almost 8 years old, a very long time indeed. Newer laptops might have better graphics, biometric features, nicer screens, and thinner profile, but to tell you the truth, this thing here has all that I need to do today. Let's go over what's inside real quick. First, I'm going with the hardware. The CPU, it has a mid 2012 Intel i5-3210M CPU running at 2.5 GHz with an Intel HD 4000 integrated GPU with 1.5 GB of graphics memory. I've also upgraded the RAM into 2 sticks of 8 GB SODIMMs running at 1866 MHz. Then I swapped the optical drive for another SSD, so I've got a total of 120 GB plus 500 GB SSDs here. Then I've also changed the wireless card to match the motherboard, which supports Bluetooth 4.0 and handoff feature between Apple devices. A couple of other replacements I made is because they start to wear out, such as the fans, they get noisy, the battery was dead, and the trackpad won't register some clicks as reliably anymore. So yeah, basically the things that haven't changed here on the hardware side is the display, the aluminum chassis, the MagSafe charging connector, which is amazing, that has saved me a couple times, and the keyboard itself, especially with the butterfly keyboard failures and all that on newer MacBook Pros. This keyboard hasn't failed me once even after that many years. It is really a great keyboard. On the software side, it is running the latest macOS Mojave. 10.14.4 to be exact. Basically, every software is supported. Final Cut, Adobe software, Microsoft Offices, you name it. Everything runs, and most importantly, it runs smoothly. Doing everyday tasks, note-taking in class, video editing for YouTube with Final Cut Pro even, and a seamless connection with my phone like contacts, reminders, notes, calendars, passwords even. They're just there when you need it. And not to forget, Spotlight is one of the best feature on Mac, but probably I'll save the topic for future video. For now, I want to show you some synthetic benchmarks results first. Okay, so first we're gonna go with Geekbench 4 benchmark. As you can see, the upside here is the score with screen recording on, and the one on the bottom is with screen recording off. And we can see there is a 300 score difference, and then the maximum score is 3,200-ish for the single core score, and multi-core is 6,300, let's say about that. This is the score I get for an i5 mid 2012 Mac. Very interesting to see that the score falls between these two, the 27-inch 2011 iMac and the 15-inch 2012 MacBook Pro. Next is the multi-core score. It falls between these two MacBook Air here from 2013. And if you can see on the top here, the MacBook Pro from the same year, if you buy the i7 chip, you'll get this much score, which is about 300 more than the i5 here. So the next benchmark I'm gonna run is a Cinebench Benchmark, and same thing, I'm gonna do a screen recorded version and compare it to the ones that doesn't have to do any screen recording and see if there is any difference. What a surprising result! We can see that the score with screen recording on is actually slightly better. So this might be a normal variation of the scores. So we can conclude here that screen recording doesn't affect the result of Cinebench. Now let's move on to the next benchmark, which is Heaven Unigine. I'm gonna do this on a basic preset. Let's see how it runs. So this is the Heaven's benchmark. It actually is much more laggy than this. This is because I fast forward, so it looks smoother. So now the results are out. 10.6 FPS per second. A terrible score, to be honest. It is so bad. But as far as I remember, this Intel HD 4000 is a really big jump when you're going from the Intel HD 3000, which is in the 2011 hardware. Unfortunately, I don't have the 2011 hardware anymore. If you guys are kind enough to download Heaven Benchmark and then run it on your computer, you can post a comment down below and share with us what your result is. Okay, so with the synthetic benchmarks out of the way, now let's see the real world tasks of what I do every day. So I'm doing a screen record right now with QuickTime, and you can see the icon on the top menu bar here. I'm editing the video right now, and if you can see, I can scrub really like this and see if there is any difference. Yeah, there's no lag at all. Let's say I'm not editing video. I'll just leave it right there. I want to listen to some music. I open iTunes and put it on like this, and while listening to some music, I'll open up Safari and let's see. Okay, so the web pages are loaded. I'm done with Safari. Now I'll open some chat apps and also WhatsApp. See? Okay, now let's say I'm doing my everyday thing. I'm taking a note. I'll open OneNote and I'll do a side-by-side full screen app like so, and then make a note. Test note. And this is what I do pretty much every day. I have Final Cut Pro open, OneNote open, WhatsApp there in full screen with iTunes. And let's see how much memory do I use every day. As you can see here, that's 9 gigabytes, so a little over 8 gigabytes. So I am putting my 16 gigabyte memory in use, with Final Cut Pro being the most memory hungry application. I sometimes even open more apps than this, and it's been working really well for me. So lastly, I wanted to talk about some of the things that you should be aware of when doing this for yourself. First is the SSD. Changing just your hard drive to an SSD of any size or brand will make a huge difference on the overall performance. Startup time will be cut down from a whole minute to just 20 seconds. Opening apps and copying files around will be much faster, and this is the upgrade that I recommend every time to everyone, whether they have a Mac or any computer, because it is one of the easier thing to do and it has the most noticeable effect for the computer. Then the extra SSD. You can buy and swap the optical drive into a perfectly functioning SSD or hard drive slot. Just remember that this space can't really accept the thicker hard drive like those 1 terabytes or up. So I recommend putting the hard drive on the original hard drive spot and the SSD on a new slot. And I've heard you can do something like Fusion Drive within macOS. You can do more research about it and leave a comment down below if you've got good results to share. Next is the RAM upgrade. To tell you the truth, I thought my 16 gig upgrade was overkill and wouldn't be of any use. But I think 8 gigs of RAM should be enough for most people anyways. This upgrade is very easy, but remember the difference it makes depends on your use. Then comes the hardest thing to change of all, the motherboard or the logic board upgrade. I've swapped the 2011 motherboard with a 2012 one, and that took a lot of time. It is a challenge by itself to search for one, then buy it, then installing it to your laptop. But despite all that, I think it is still a worth it upgrade now that the 2011 MacBook Pros are labeled obsolete by Apple. By upgrading to this 2012 motherboard, you'll get support for the latest macOS Mojave app continuity and handoff. Then also one thing that I hate the most, installing Windows on boot camp with a flash drive. You may take it for granted, but really 2011 MacBook Pro requires you to have a Windows installed disk. A DVD for Windows, who has that? I don't even have it back then. Anyway, I'm gonna stop this right here. If you decided to do this, you can check my other video where I do a step-by-step tutorial on how to change the motherboard. Finally, the little things. The wireless card, which contains the Bluetooth module and the Wi-Fi, is an additional upgrade that you need to consider, especially when you're upgrading to the 2012 motherboard and you want that continuity and handoff feature. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention that my old motherboard broke for some reason. I was using it normally, then the screen suddenly turns red and I can't do anything but turn it off, and it never turns back on again. That was last year. For months after that, I tried to use my iPad as my primary device. Turns out iPads are pretty capable these days, it was fine, but I really missed the file management side of traditional computer, and I just recently got the chance to buy another motherboard and fix my Mac. Another last bit of issue is the magnetic lid sensor. After I changed the motherboard for the first time several years ago, my Mac couldn't get to sleep by closing the lid. It was annoying, to be honest. And just recently I found out that the battery indicator also doubles as the magnetic sensor. So I replaced that, reset the SMC, and got it working. Okay, so that's pretty much wraps up my video. Overall, I really enjoy using this MacBook Pro in 2019. Yes, it's a little heavy. Yes, the display is not that great. And you can even say that the battery doesn't last that long. But for other things that I do, even editing YouTube videos are really close to buttery smooth, and that is amazing. So this really is the end of the video. If you've made it this far, I would like to thank you a ton. I hope my experience would help some of you out there. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you feel like it, and don't forget to subscribe. Leave comments down below for any questions to your Mac. I'll try to participate in the conversations down there, and I really hope this video could be a place for people with MacBook Pros looking for things to upgrade. I'm Kenneth, and I'll see you in the next video.